pretty good. They're having us live stream the assembly, so.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
I think I'm just gonna stand here with you.
That's fine. Go for it. All that I gotta do is, you said, I just gotta pan in the crowd, and then whenever people walk in, the focus on them, and that's all I gotta do.
All right.
And it's just for an easy grade, so. Live streaming when people are in here, it's beyond me.
What are they live streaming it to?
I don't even know. The teacher was like, we're gonna live stream the assembly, so yeah.
Didn't you say what I was live streaming to?
To, or what for, or why, I don't know. But it's a grade, so.
I would be doing the same thing as I did last year.
Yeah.
There's really no point.
You were in it for 2 years, sophomore and junior year. Told me the pan, so I'm doing it too. This is what I gotta do for 20 minutes.
Pan back and forth.
Yep, and just whenever people come in, just aim it straight at them, and that's it.
You got no audio.
No audio?
too.
Okay. Got it.
As you can see.
Alright. Make it interesting, huh? How am I supposed to do that?
How you doing, Ross?
Good. If you guys is this taking video or we're streaming live? Okay. Awesome. Will it be available later? Could I look at it like when I get home
Should
tonight?
be, yeah.
Just on like the district site or our school site?
Okay, can I get everybody's attention, please? Okay, I want to welcome everybody to our Veterans Day Assembly. The first group, the first assembly did an outstanding job with a lot of kindness and respect. And I know this group will do exactly the same. As you can see, for our important, very serious assemblies, we go half a school, half a student body, okay? Because again, this is not a pep assembly, but a time where we can reflect, show great respect and great honor for our veterans. So please, during this assembly, we'll take our earbuds out. Okay, your ears will be okay. We can do without them for about half an hour. Okay, make sure your phones are turned off and put away, please. And then we'll go ahead and get started. But before we do, if I could just have all of our veterans stand for a moment who are here joining us today. If you guys could all please stand in the first row, and we give them a round of applause for their service, for what they've done for our country. Thank you. We're going to have you guys stand quite a bit today. And then also I know we have Seth Torres, former Rogers graduate, who's back in the house today to celebrate with us. We were glad to see Seth go, but we're even happier to have him back. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Jocelyn and we're going to get things started. Jocelyn.
We would like to thank all the students, teachers, and members of the Armed Forces for attending this year's Veterans Day Assembly. Veterans, we thank you for your bravery, your service, and your sacrifice. Now, please rise for the playing of the National Anthem and the presentation of the colors by our Rogers JROTC Color Guard. And please remove your hats if you are wearing a hat. Thank you.
Color guard, attention, forward, march.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence in remembrance of all those who have given their life and sacrifice for this country. Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you. Now introducing the Rogers High School Band under the direction of Mr. Burkhardt will now be playing the Marches of the Armed Forces, where we would like to honor our veterans who have joined us here this morning. We would please ask the veterans to stand and be recognized when they hear the march of their branch. Audience, when they stand, please join me in honoring our veterans with an applause. Also, if you have a family member who is serving or who has served, please rise when their branch march plays to represent them. As they stand, we will be presenting them with their certificate of appreciation. Thank you. Now, under the direction of Miss Ingrid Smith, the band will be playing America the Beautiful. Thank you for that amazing performance. At this time, members of the JROTC will present the folding of our nation's colors.
Detail. Halt. Inward face. Four steps outward. March.
The first fold of our flag is a symbol of life.
Ready, step.
The second fold signifies our belief in eternal life.
Ready, step.
The third fold is made in honor and tribute of the veteran departing our ranks and who gave a portion of his or her life for the defense of our country to attain peace. The fourth fold exemplifies our weaker nature as citizens, trusting in God. It is in Him we turn to for His divine guidance. The fifth fold is acknowledgement to our country, for in the words of Stephen Decatur, our country, in dealing with other countries, may she always be right, but it is still our country, right or wrong. The sixth fold is where our hearts lie. It is with our heart that we pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. The seventh fold is a tribute to our armed forces, for it is through the armed forces that we protect our country and our flag against all enemies. The eighth fold is a tribute to the one who entered the valley of the shadow of death, that we might see the light of day, and to honor our mother for whom it flies on Mother's Day. The ninth fold is an honor to womanhood, for it has been through their faith, love, loyalty, and devotion that the character of men and women who have made this country great have been molded. The 10th fold is a tribute to the Father, for He too has given His sons and daughters for the defense of our country since he or she was first born. The 11th fold, in the eyes of a Hebrew citizen, represents the lower portion of the seal of King of David and King Solomon, and glorifies in their eyes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The 12th fold, in the eyes of a Christian citizen, represents an emblem of eternity and glorifies in their eyes God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. The last fold, when the flag is completely folded, the stars are uppermost, reminding us of our national motto, "In God we trust."
Outward face. Forward march. Right left.
Thank you. Next, we will be playing the Medal of Honor video featuring our very own Rogers graduate of '97, Ronald J. Schurer. Please stay quiet and respectful for the entire duration of the video. Thank you.
This medal represents what the country has always stood for: sacrifice.
My name's on the back of it, but it doesn't mean it belongs to me. I'm just a caretaker.
It didn't matter where you were from or who you were. We looked out for one another.
I felt this is what a soldier's supposed to do, and I still feel that way.
But this medal's not mine. That belongs to those kids who never grew up to be grandfathers. I just hold it in trust.
In 1861, as the bitter struggle of the Civil War escalated, President Abraham Lincoln signed into law the creation of an award recognizing servicemen who would most distinguish themselves by their gallantry in action. Any nation, said the president, that does not honor its heroes will not long endure. At first, the Medal of Honor was intended only for Navy personnel, but soon after, a similar decoration was established for the Army. From its first presentation in 1863 through the creation of an Air Force medal a century later, and up until the present day, fewer than 3,500 Americans have been chosen to wear this hallowed emblem, many posthumously. But the medal's rarity stands in stark contrast to its meaning. For common to each of the 40 million Americans who have faced combat for their country is the capacity for selflessness and service to others that is most nobly embodied in this, our nation's highest military honor.
It is Mary Walker, her name, that appears on her Congressional Medal of Honor, which she received in 1865 when she became the first woman to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor. This is her story. Mary Walker was born in 1832 and grew up on a farm in upstate New York where her father was a self-taught country doctor. Mary's parents were abolitionists, and their home was a stop on the Underground Railroad, providing shelter and a hideout for escaped slaves on their way to freedom in Canada. Mary Walker also worked to get women the right to vote, and in 1881 she became the first female candidate for United States Senate in this country, saying that though women did not have the right to vote, she saw nothing in the Constitution that prevented them from holding elective office. But it was her service in the Civil War that won her the Congressional Medal of Honor. When the war broke out, Mary went to Washington to request to enlist as an Army surgeon. Her request was denied. She then volunteered in a makeshift hospital in Washington with 100 severely wounded soldiers. Mary kept requesting formal appointment as an Army surgeon and kept getting rejected. In 1862, she set off to the battlefield herself and offered her services there as a volunteer. The Army surgeons she worked with supported her appeal to Washington for a formal appointment, but she was again denied. Newspapers began to pick up the story of the woman doctor on the battlefield. The New York Tribune wrote, "The lady is exceedingly popular among the soldiers in the hospitals and is undoubtedly doing much good." In 1864, General George Henry Thomas, under his authority as commander of the Army of the Cumberland, hired Mary as a contract surgeon, and she was finally earning a salary equivalent to a lieutenant. Sharon Harris's biography of Dr. Mary Walker describes how she tried to reduce the number of amputations. She began a process of double-checking a patient's wounds whenever she heard that one of the suspect doctors intended to remove a limb. If she thought the surgery was unwarranted, she counseled the soldier that surgery was his choice, though she also told soldiers not to reveal that she had counseled them. In later years, she insisted that many a man today has for it the perfect and good use of his limbs who would not have had but for my advice. Several soldiers wrote after the war to thank her for saving their limbs. Dr. Mary Walker received the Congressional Medal of Honor in 1865 at the age of 32. After decades of abuse of the Medal of Honor, including easily copied and sold counterfeit Medals of Honor, the War Department reviewed all Medal of Honor awards and revoked almost 1,000 of them in 1916, including Dr. Mary Walker's medal. And so suddenly, at age 84, it became a crime for Mary Walker to wear her Congressional Medal of Honor. but she refused to return her medal to the Army and continued to wear it until her death a few years later at the age of 87 in 1919. And 51 years later, after a Pentagon investigation of the case, President Jimmy Carter restored Dr. Mary Walker's Medal of Honor on June 11th, 1977. If you take a tour of the Pentagon, you can see her medal there on display now. Dr. Mary Walker, the first woman to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor, remains to this day the only woman to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor.
This medal represents the great work of the team and all those men who are sitting with me today. We work together as a tight-knit family. We trusted one another, and we share a bond that's far greater than words can describe. This Medal of Honor is for those who didn't make it in past and present battles, those who are still out there confronting the enemy and building partnerships, and my teammates who persevered on April 6th, 2008. For me, like many others, joining America's fighting force in response to the 9/11 attacks was the right thing to do. It's hard to believe that it's been 17 years since that evil had struck our land. But we stood up together and we made a difference. That is why I joined, to just try and make a difference. As a man, I couldn't believe what I was watching on TV. I was in graduate school at Washington State University, and like so many others, I was angry watching the attacks on the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and the downed plane in Pennsylvania. I could not believe what was happening. It was my duty to join the military to help. Eventually, donning the Green Beret, and eventually becoming their medic in Shock Valley, Afghanistan. For over 6 hours, we fought together, and it seemed like an eternity. But we never stopped working together. Everyone knew their job and was ready to do it. From the moment we got off the helicopters, we were surrounded by a harsh terrain and a well-prepared enemy who had the stronghold. All I remember is working to get to my brothers. I don't remember gunfire, I don't remember obstacles. Over the course of the battle, the casualties continued to mount, both Afghan and American, and I relied on my training, and I tried to focus on one thing at a time, one problem at a time, and work as long as I could. 2 amazing warriors did lose their lives that day, an Afghan commando named Bahadin, and one of our interpreters, Edris C.K. Khan. There's nothing more sacred than family and my brothers from that battle, and alongside of them, their families that are here today as well. My family gave me great values, and for my wife and sons, Cameron, Tyler, Miranda, I love you guys. Your constant support over the years has kept me going. You've given me many home front celebrations with every soccer game, with every T-ball game, every school event. We always get stronger and better together. This family reunion with our extended military family is a reminder of how strong and resilient we all are when it comes to God and country. I wear this uniform so proudly, adorned with a Medal of Honor for those who didn't make it, for those who are still out there fighting, and especially for the men of ODA 3336. God bless America. Thank you.
To close our ceremony, there will be the playing of taps to honor and commemorate all those who have so gallantly lost their lives while serving.
Thank you. Well, Assembly today was somewhat short. Our memory and honor for our veterans who have served and are serving currently is not. You guys have done an amazing job as a student body. I thank you to all of our veterans here today on behalf of Rogers High School. Thank you for being here. Actually, all of the veterans, if you guys could come forward when we dismiss, we're going to take one giant picture, one big selfie for all of us, and that will be fantastic. Otherwise, everybody, thank you so much. You are dismissed back to second period. Thank you.